I have
Okay,
mine.
we are
Hi.
live now. Hi everyone. So
Hey,
there are like 7, 8 people who've sent hi. And so for all of you thinking what today's event is going to be, since we are in this situation that we can't physically meet, so we are doing this live event, and we thought, we should just know. We are live now. Hi everyone. So there are like hello.
hey, we can
Can
hear
you all
you.
hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So obviously we can't meet because of this very nice novel coronavirus. So finally we're e-meeting everybody, and we just wanted to check on each other and how the community is growing, what is happening in GDG Cloud. So this event is basically for that. And Pranay would take over now.
Okay. Hi everyone. As Sakshi said, the idea was to check each other's backs. कैसा चल रहा है सबका? Is everyone safe at their places? कैसा चल रहा है? कर क्या रहे हो? कैसा चल रहा है quarantine? How are you spending your time? और क्या क्या है? बताओ. 5-10 मिनट ऐसे बात करते हैं फिर let's everyone talk about what they are up to. मैं मस्त Netflix and
Yeah.
chill कर रहा हूँ.
That's a slang actually. Which is not going to say.
ठीक है, not get there, but okay, I get you.
Cool. Good to know you know the slang. Okay.
Right, no,
ठीक है.
but otherwise as well, like how are you all kind of
मेरा
adjusting
तो
to
work from home चल रहा है. I'm
right?
having work from
Everyone's
home,
on the floor.
and I'm actually working more because what
Yeah,
happens here.
right.
These meetings. Yeah, I actually like 11 o'clock. I have this meeting, and by 11 at night, I'm shutting my laptop from work. I'm like, what the hell? Even on weekends, I'm working, which is not probably something which was not there in any case. I used to work
Right.
over weekends also at some time, but this is like legit working. So it's, I think, I'm not sure how people are not being busy. I'm very busy.
Is it also
Yeah.
like that you're working more on when you're working from home? Because I
Yeah,
have
I
I am working more actually. Why? Because I'll tell you, you have to really wait for the other person to reply, and all sorts of nonsense. So you sort of wait, and you just wait. Okay, let's see what comes up. Let's see what comes up. Anyway, in front of the screen all the time.
No,
Yeah,
so
true.
so so one of the things that we did in our teams, right, was to basically build asynchronous teams, right? So nobody's
Hmm.
dependent on anybody, right? And we don't have any like stand-ups or video calls or anything throughout the day. We just have weekly sync-ups, right? And everybody decides their own workloads
Hmm.
as in when the work comes. So at best you would have to send an email to someone to clarify something, but that would never be a blocker for your work. It took a lot of time for us to get there, but yeah, I mean, given like all the time zones we work in, that's kind of something which worked out quite well. But
That's like
yeah, I
cool.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but otherwise as well, like just the whole sheer boredom and the fact that you have little to no contact with the outside world kind of drives you to just work and work. So
Right.
yeah, that's that kind of yeah, does not give a nice impression, but yeah.
cool.
Right. And how,
How
Vishan, is your
how-
quarantine treating you?
No, I mean, I completely agree with the Sakshi what she's saying. So for me, it's working from home is like kind of more work actually than what we have in the office. There is no time limit, and we have to be online all the time. So I mean, I usually sleep at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m.
oh,
In this lockdown period, and just came again online around 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning. So yeah.
Okay.
for Vishal, I think it could be a lot more because you also have family.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's another. that's another part. We have removed our maid, we have removed the person who is washing our car, and so we have to take all those responsibility ourselves. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's something we have to distribute that workload as well.
Right.
Right. So there was this thing that I never wanted to do in my life was to throw off the garbage to that, those people come and collect all your. I don't like the smell. It really drives me crazy. So I started doing that because obviously we don't have help at home. We've asked them to stay. Again, obviously they also need to be safe. So that's one thing that I'm starting to do, and now I'm like, okay, I've accepted the fact that it's cool. It's okay. I can do it. So that's one. So we have this very interesting question, which I'm going to show if you guys can see by Anikesh. So he's like, he wants to have our LinkedIn profiles. So we can share that. Okay.
Sure.
So
Okay.
each one of you can comment your own LinkedIn profile. I think you guys would have that option.
But
Yeah.
do we comment on private chat?
No. Do it on comments itself. Just share them the URL, just the end part, what you're from www.linkedin.in/ whatever your username in the URL is, just that. Like mine is Sakshi-AI. So I'm sharing that. You can just share each of your own. Okay. So let's quickly go through the questions if there are any questions. Okay, if you guys want to ask us any questions, then please go ahead. We are waiting, and thank you for everybody who sent a hi to all of you, and I hope all of you are safe and sound. Please maintain distance, social distancing, stay inside, stay at home, eat healthy, and obviously exercise. I think Kautuk has joined. Hi Kautuk, he says hello.
There's also
Okay,
this another question about, has anybody attempted Google Kickstart?
there's a question by whom?
Yeah,
Uh,
I saw that too. Someone asked if.
Once I'll just go through all the questions once again. Oh yeah, Abhishek Pathak. Yeah, 1 second. So if anybody has attempted Google Kickstart, can tell about that.
or
Speak up,
any
guys.
competitive programming, I guess, if
Yeah,
that is.
anything. And if anybody is sort of interested, then we can obviously you can contact us on LinkedIn, and we can rightfully get you connected with the concerned people.
Right.
So where is the design champ? So obviously there's a big demand for Aman, and Aman has not joined the call. I don't know why. We'll deal with him later. But yeah, I think he might be joining later, I suppose.
Let's see.
Because I think he did ping that we're doing a good job.
Right. But
Yeah,
otherwise,
he
like if you all have any questions around Google Cloud, what's
yeah.
new that's coming, or like tech communities in general, or um, anything else as to how we're managing our routines, or pretty much anything, right? This is just a time for us as a community to connect and just see if we all can one help each other or just be there for each other in any way of sort, right? So don't think that you only have to put in questions which are just tech oriented and so on and so forth. Any and everything is fair game.
Right. So please, everyone, whosoever has a question, please fill in to ask. Okay, so there's a question for Pranay by Rishabh. Once again, I'll show it.
Orchestration in cloud. That could mean a lot, many different things. Orchestration comes for infrastructure, it's different. For containerization, it's different. For network, it's probably different. There are multiple toolings around everything. Orchestration basically means that how, there's a tool set that you can use to manage and utilize your resources. Maybe it involves sometimes configuration management. There's Ansible, there's Kubernetes for containers. There are other tools for containerization. containers as well. Then there's Rancher for cluster management, which is again an orchestration tool. Orchestration can mean very different things in very different contexts. You have to be very specific about what kind of orchestration are you looking for.
So, Rishabh, if you have a more specific based question on orchestration, you can go ahead and ask. Meanwhile, if there's anybody else who wants to know, so you can definitely ask. I think there's somebody who's asked. Okay.
Okay, has anyone?
There's a
I think
question.
Okay, during
during
college, we relate
college,
this thing spreading in college.
Wait, can I take that? Can I take that? I feel really strong. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm just gonna give a brief about my career so far. I've never been a guy who's coded in college that much, right? I was like a hardcore marketing and sales guy when I was in college, and surprisingly, I was doing bachelor's in computer science, which does not make sense. But anyhow, like I think coding competitions and like there's TSOC, there's like all this other communities who do competitions and whatnot. I think they're not the prerequisite for you to make a mark in tech, right? I think what you typically need is whenever that time may be, if you're driven enough to get your sort of head straight and whatever it is that you're sort of passionate about, if you're okay doing, then all these competitions would not matter that much, right? I personally, I started coding coding actually in the last year of my college, in the fourth year of my college, and that was primarily because a lot of companies were coming for placements in my college, right? And I wanted to get through. That's why I started coding for real. And yeah, not a day goes by where I think that I should have started coding earlier. But I never ever regret not taking part in these competitions and looking at people doing competitive coding and whatnot. It's important to do as well, but it does not. It's not a game killer if you don't be a part of these competitions and so on.
Okay, so Sid has finally joined in. Hi, Sid.
Hey, Sid.
Said your voice and your camera.
You're audible.
Did I join the broadcast link?
Yeah. You're at the right place.
Yeah,
So we can use
you.
camera, and that's it.
You're not audible.
Okay. I'm good. How about you all?
Okay.
You're good as well.
Yeah, I think Sid is audible now, but yeah, camera is something.
I have turned off.
Okay.
Can't hear him.
Okay.
There are a lot of questions in the comments.
Yeah, I'll just go through them. Okay, there's a question by.
For data workflow orchestration, we can go with Apache Airflow / Cloud Composer. Yeah,
Let's
that's
go.
true.
Okay, so there's a question how you guys are managing learnings with working from home, because there are a lot of meetings due to constraints and development alignment time. Yeah, I mean that's going to be there, Harmanpreet, and all you have to do is you need to balance your time, because obviously there has to be meetings so that your work process is channelized. Yeah, you need to, I mean, keep going through. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't physically meet each other. You can obviously discuss your problems and queries, but then you have to put in a lot of effort. That's why the time which I was mentioning earlier is, the time that you're devoting for your work has increased. So I think that's one. If anybody wants to add, can go ahead.
Right. I think start small, right? Like start with just 20 minutes time blocked in your calendar, right? To probably pick up that one language that you've been meaning to learn or that one framework that you want to learn, right? Start with 20 minutes, right? And build on that. So on day one, just put say 20 minutes on your calendar, right? say take a tutorial on whatever that next thing that you want to learn. The next day, try to do 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and so on and so forth, and increase it gradually. Generally, we as techies, we try to do a lot in a very small amount of time. We try to compress a lot of things into say just a day or just a weekend and whatnot, right? What I would recommend doing is break it down, right? Break it down into like fundamental pieces and spread it across your week. It won't kill you if you don't master a new framework every day. But you would be able to manage your life much better if you break it down into a week or say a month as well. There's no rush as such. So, yeah.
There's another point to it on the sidelines that so many edtech institutions are offering their courses for free, or there's so much of education that previously wasn't available right now,
Right.
and it's available at hand. And because people know that there's only a certain time frame until this will be available, they also want to wrap it up within as soon as they can.
Right.
So I don't think you miss out on anything if you take either, like, if you don't take all of the courses that you wanted to take right now. I mean, of course the content would still be there, but yeah, maybe it would be paid, but it still doesn't matter. You want to learn, you get through it.
Right. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. I hope Harmanpreet, your question is answered well. And if you have any specific questions, you can obviously reach out to us again. So there's another question. Describe the security aspects that cloud could serve.
So that's a bit of an open-ended question, but let me take a stab at that. And Pranay and Sakshi, feel free to, and Vishal, feel free to add on that. I think specifically in terms of security, right? One thing is that there is not one location where all of your data is kind of based out of, right? Typically, if you see right now, if you have your data in say a Cloud SQL on GCP, it would have multi-replication, right, across multiple regions, across multiple data centers, and so on, right? So you would not be missing out on your data, even if like one data center goes down. If like one entire region goes down, you would still have access to your data, right? Second is with like better IAM control, right? IAM is identity and access management. With that, you can actually control right down to the person level and to a service level as well, that what person should get what access, right? So say you want one person to just have access to BigQuery, right? You can do that. You don't want them to access any of your other tooling or other software or code bases. You can easily do that, right? Last but not the least, specifically in terms of code bases, right, which we really cherish in a lot of product firms or in like consulting firms as well. You can one limit access there, as I mentioned before, and also you can encrypt your entire code bases. You can encrypt the data at which it resides on as well, and also control what all applications get access to what all data as well. So it's not just for people; it's also for applications getting specific access to specific um, services as well. So in that way, I think cloud's much more secure as compared to like an on-premise system.
Yeah.
I think that's like very well explained. And I hope, Arvind, your question is also answered. Awesome. So, okay, there's another question once again. As of now, many online learning sites are offering free or discounted rate. Okay, yeah, that's right. And I hope you also would like to learn something from them. Okay, there's one more point. What are your views on becoming MSP, which is Microsoft Student Partner, or be a part of Google Developer Student Club? Will you guys? Well, I don't think so. We are the right people, but even then, so DSC or MSP is only for college students, and it's basically that you have to get yourself enrolled. There's an application form which opens every year, and every year for every college which is in contacts with again Microsoft or Google would like to have their new DSP leads. So it's like that. But apart from that, there are, I think there's one interview which you have to give, and there is your application has to get selected. So it works like that. But I really don't think we're the right people to get in touch with.
Right.
But we can definitely, if you have like basic queries, we can definitely, you can ping us on LinkedIn and we can get you connected to the rightful people who will be good enough to answer this. But yeah, the basic is basically you apply on their website and you have a profile which you submit, which is shortlisted. Thereafter, you have an interview, and if you get selected, you become MSP or the Google Developer Student Club lead. Okay,
Right, but
I
I would
hope.
just like to add one thing there, right? But
Yeah,
do take a do become a part of these clubs, right? Because not
yeah,
because it adds weightage to your CV or like all of that jazz, but it just gives you access to a community of people who can answer your questions more or less when you need them to, right? If not that, they would keep you up to date with whatever's happening in the tech, whatever's the XYZ next tech influencer is doing, and so on. So you get access to a diverse pool of knowledge which you would not otherwise get. So I would definitely recommend becoming a part of it, even if you do not become a partner or like I don't know how it goes, but yeah, be a part of the community though.
so there's a team like how we have in GDG Cloud, and there'll be one DSC lead or MSP lead, and then the entire team works together
Right.
and have like events based in colleges, and or maybe sometimes with office people as well, but very limited to obviously college student and
Right.
college crowd. It's like that. So okay, so we can move on to the next question. I guess you guys are living in your family. Okay, Harmanpreet is very happy. He seems to have liked our answer. That's nice. Okay, there's another question. What are the advantages of Raspberry Pi?
What are the advantages of Raspberry Pi?
Yeah,
Um, it's I mean, Raspberry Pi is like a mini computer in itself, right? I mean, that's how I define it. There's no as such. I mean, the advantages are similar of like you having, say, a mini computer, and like typically it's helpful if you're building something on the edge, meaning say since I'm from a data science background, I'm just going to take an example of that. Say for example, if you're building like a small camera based chipset which takes an image, recognizes something, and then gives you like some sort of feedback based on that, I think Raspberry Pi would be a nice option because you can take your trained model, deploy it on the Raspberry Pi, and then use the camera link to get responses as fast as possible because that reduces the latency. But otherwise, it's a cool thing, right? Try it out and experiment with it. I'm,
So,
I'm I'm afraid I don't have a lot of experience with that, but yeah.
so
Panchal can
Vaibhav,
also add, I
yeah.
guess.
So Vaibhav described it pretty well, and what I wanted to add is, so since I am working in the IoT area, and my whole background is in working with most of the devices closely. So that in that area, Raspberry Pi plays a very important role. Whatever the POCs we are working on, whatever the whatever the demos we are working on, and you have to put, as Web have described, you have to put all the chips, sensors, all around the hardwares, and you have to, you have to do embedded programming, put your code in the machine, and then you have to run that and see the data in place. So first thing, Raspberry Pi gives you a flexibility to do that at your home. That is a mini computer. We can say mini computer or the hardware plus your software package, which you can try at your home, and you can do all the IoT related activity at on one device. So that is the flexibility I can say that Raspberry Pi gives you, which you can't get from your laptop, or which you can't get from your the PC.
Right.
awesome. So I hope, Rishabh, you've got your answer. So we'll move on to the next question.
There's a question. Okay. Does
Okay,
DCP
Yashish.
provide image and application artifact scanning? Yes. And to what extent? Um, So far as I can remember, there's binary authorization for all your images, so that you know the image that is being deployed comes from a credible source. The second thing is that when you store it on something like, this new thing coming up on GCP known as the artifact registry, but it's currently in beta. But the one that we have right now is called container registry. Yeah, so container registry would scan your entire image for any kind of vulnerabilities that it has, and even if it is, it would also probably tell you that certain of your libraries are expired and you should update them for a security update. So that is the level of extent that GCP provides for Docker image and application artifact scanning.
Right,
Yeah.
and there's also one thing I haven't worked a lot, so maybe I may be mistaken there. So a quick disclaimer there. But there's also this thing called vulnerability scanning, which the GCP service account does I think every week, or you can set the duration, and it does it on all the Docker images that have been pulled in last 30 days, right? And it checks from all the distributions that you have, like all the distros, right? So Linux, Red Hat, and like there is also a common database of all the vulnerabilities and so on. It would check for all of those and also give you like a CVSS score, which is like a vulnerability score, right? Like how vulnerable your Docker image is, and then you can basically take steps on that. I know that there's quite a lot of stuff that GCP folks have got lined to push out specifically from the security aspect of this. So yeah, there's a lot to come there as well.
Cool. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Another question around this is, okay, Abhishek Pathak, Google Rocks. Nice. Congratulations on your Android scholarship.
Congrats, man.
Nice. Okay, there's another question from Yashish that says, what level of load balancer does GCP provide right from L7 to L4? Yeah, so we have an L7 load balancer, which is a global load balancer. Both serves HTTP, HTTPS traffic, and then there's also this L4 load balancer for internal load balancing. So that. Load balancing is mostly available on L4 and L7, right? And there's no load L5 or L6 load balancer, so far as I know. Yeah. And these are most commonly, you either get them at the application layer or the transport layer. So yeah, it's either a TCP load balancer or HTTP, HTTPS. That's all. Cool. Okay.
I think that's just a comment.
Right. We have another question that says, what is the use of Kubernetes in cloud? Good question. Everyone's asking this. So yeah, question of industry. The entire industry is asking this. Okay, so the way I see it, if you are to manage your containerization solves a big chunk of problem in the developer or an application development lifecycle. But orchestrating them and making them talk to each other is a mess because you have to do one-to-one mapping. That is where Kubernetes helps, and it is basically a container orchestration tool. When we're talking about orchestration, it basically helps and manages your containers for you. That is it. That is the sole purpose. It is easier to do on the cloud because there are a chunk of resources available, and it's also on the lines of a lot of these cloud providers are actively developing Kubernetes, and they are able to provide certain features which otherwise Kubernetes does not provide out of the box. Kubernetes has this one component called cloud controller. So a lot of these cloud providers integrate these services which you would otherwise not get with Kubernetes out of the box, and it makes your entire life cycle of application serving from from test to staging to dev or whatever stages that you have right up till production. It's quite easier to get there when you do it on the cloud. So yeah, and you need right resources. You can set up a Kubernetes cluster using kind on your laptop, but yeah, the aspect wherein you really want to productionize your workload comes on the cloud. So yeah, I think Vaibhav and Vishal can add.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to add one thing there, right? So, I mean, Kubernetes is, at least in my experience, has been like extremely useful if you have large workloads to handle, right? When you're dealing with the large amount of requests or large amount of data in general, and you know the underlying thing being that you're spinning up and spinning down a lot of containers up and down. So that, like, whenever you have a use case like that, you should definitely switch over to Kubernetes. But in majority of cases, I've seen that using Kubernetes has been an overkill. Um, yeah, that's why as well you would have seen that off late the way GCP has been kind of increasing the pricing aspect of control plane as well was a widely sparked debate as well, but that was kind of needed because people were just spinning up one node Kubernetes clusters or two node Kubernetes clusters, which does not make sense. So yeah, so I would say that only go to that level when you have that level of scale. Otherwise, there's no point.
Right. There's also a steep learning curve attached to it, and lot many times, as I mean, in a consulting role, I prohibit people. I push for containerization, but I kind of also prohibit them if they are not skilled for it. And you get to know all of this in conversations with people. And there are times where Kubernetes has failed dramatically for a couple of organizations, and there's an entire blog that says, "Hey, this is where our Kubernetes failed. We were better off using VMs." So yeah, it as we have said, depends on your workload and depends if you are. There's a lot of abstraction happening over it. Again, there's Knative coming in. You have Cloud Run. Kelsey Hightower tweeted this, that when in future Kubernetes would only be an API, you won't get worker nodes, you won't get control plane. I mean, of course, you don't get control plane and GCP right now as well, but yeah, you also won't get the worker nodes, and all you would do, and as a developer, all you want to do is code. Simply push your code using that API, you get things done. So yeah, that's
Yeah, and I mean that's how Cloud Run also kind of operates, right? Cloud Run is like a managed service as well. So all you have to care about is just having that Python, Go, Java, or I don't know whatever languages it supports. Just have that application in, right? Just push that application up into a Docker file, and Cloud Run would kind of handle everything, right? So it will handle your load balancing. It will handle how much, what should be the size of your overall, compute required, and like everything. So I think that's the way to go as well.
cool. Okay, next question we have: how soon can you expect TPU support for TensorFlow 2.2?
So definitely a valid question. So they introduced TPU support for TensorFlow 2.0, if I'm not wrong. Within TensorFlow nightly, they have some bit of pieces working for 2.0, if I'm not mistaken. But typically, you can expect like at least I have seen like a 3 to 4 months lag in terms of making things GA for TPU as well. So right now you should be able to, if you're working on GCP on AI platform, if you have a TensorFlow 2.0 model, then it can easily work with like a TPU pod. That's something that went GA, I think, a month or two back. But 2.2, I'm sure it does not support right now. But you can, if you have a specific need, then you should definitely check out TensorFlow nightly build. That does have some support for TPU, and you would have to do a bit of fine tuning, but you should be able to leverage it. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah. Okay, what will be good for microservices communication, REST or Kafka?
My
Yeah, both of them are pretty much different modes of communication.
yeah,
Kafka would probably put things in a queue. REST is basically an HTTP call. Um, so when we talk about microservices, most of the time communications happens over an API, right? The Docker API or the Kubernetes API, basically calling services within the internal DNS whatsoever. Basically an HTTP call, so you are most of the time talking to REST. How Kafka comes into picture is a lot many times these microservices can scale, right? So number of pods you have, you can push them to a queue. I think that is the kind of architecture that sometimes people plan for, and Kafka is a very it's very scenario based, but yeah, REST is always there. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
so
think
just wanted to add what Pranay said. Yeah, so this is a different way of I would say inter-service communication. It depends on the situation whether you will be using a REST or a messaging based communication. So I would just generalize Kafka as a messaging based communication, or the event driven architecture, if you have heard of that. So I mean, this is again depend on the situation what I said, because messaging framework or the Kafka, if you talk about, is the if you need a communication which is loosely coupled, or the non-blocking. I mean, now we can say the Kafka's messaging framework are also very simple to scale as well. But when we talk about the REST communication, this is again a request response model. I mean, which certainly you will need some one or I mean other way in your microservices. You cannot. I mean, you cannot get rid of that API communication in the microservices, but messaging framework is a vital part as well between us. I mean, communication between multiple services. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I recently got to know about Aniket says about. Okay, I recently got to know about Facebook Developer Circle in my area and got to know about the slide stream from there. Okay, how helpful is this developer circle? Right. So be at GDG Cloud, or in fact the GDG communities within the Delhi NCR region have been very open to collaborations, and we have had collaborations with Facebook developer circles in the Delhi region, and yeah, they run quite excellent programs. They are able to provide scholarships and internship. Um, it's a good circle to join. They're good people, and then Facebook is also heavily investing, right? I mean, everyone is trying with these communities. What we try to bring along are mostly the technologies that these organizations that support us, so right. So Facebook is working on some very important frameworks like PyTorch or React.js, and these frameworks are equally changing the tech world as Google's technologies or maybe Microsoft technologies are. Yeah, should join them, get in touch with them. Probably they can hire you over, or maybe guide you in a direction where you feel much more comfortable. Um, yeah. Okay. Can you give out some examples where Cloud Run can be used? Hmm. Okay.
I can give a couple of examples there if you want. So pretty much anywhere you have a stateless application, right? So if it's like an API, if it's something which, so if you're deploying a machine learning model, if you're building just a simple API which fetches some records from a database, or pretty much like any scenario wherein like one part of your application is not dependent on like other parts, I think you can push them to Cloud Run. And you know, so typically I have used Cloud Run in for deploying machine learning models and giving it to either my client teams or my internal teams for them to like test out things, and just to provide some quick feedback, and then also like run some quick tests as to how the model is kind of operating, and stuff like that. So that is that. But Sakshi, Pranay, Vishal, if you want to add.
Okay. So what I want to add is that when Cloud Run came out, there was this entire hype about that. Now everything's serverless. If you can containerize it, you can run it on Cloud Run. And then people were doing crazy stuff. They probably, I don't know, someone ran like Pascal code built in 1970s on Cloud Run, and that is the power that we are talking about. It's morely also it's more like that. If there's a trigger to it, and you can build any application. If you want to start off with, say, if you want to build your application on any custom stack, and you have the skills to containerize it, right? You can basically host your website for free, if that's something that I can say, because on Cloud Run you have a certain free tier which comes under the always free section, and you have any app that you can take, package it into a container image, and then deploy it. It'll run, and all you have to do is pay for a domain if you receive very less traffic in a month on your website. Just host a personal website is one of the cases that I think. On the production side, yeah, anything, as well have said, anything that's stateless can run on Cloud Run. So yeah. Okay. Okay.
I think this is just a comment.
Yeah. We will share the LinkedIn profile for Sakshi again.
Hey, Sakshi, we can't hear you.
No. Okay. Sakshi will join. Okay.
We can probably take this question again in the end. I see there are a couple. If that's all right.
The use of Kubernetes in cloud. Rishabh, I think we can connect on LinkedIn. I have shared my profile, and we can talk about it because yeah. Okay, how can we integrate Cloud Run with Firebase hosting? Um, yeah, a lot of people do that actually. Maybe you have your primary website, say example.com, running on Firebase, and if you want to add like a CNAME to it, you can host that CNAME on Cloud Run. If you want to do like avz.example.com, that can be easily mapped to Cloud Run, and that kind of redirection can happen via your DNS. The other way you can integrate is that you can host something on Cloud Run, make it a private service and not publicly available, and via proper authentication via your Firebase application, you can call those services and basically host your APIs if you want to. So Cloud Run can be very easily used if you want to do like, if you want to build your APIs on a custom stack, and you want to have something serverless wherein you don't have to manage any of the part about, say, hardware, infrastructure, networking, security, or anything on those lines. So yeah, that's Raj.
I think
Okay.
Sakshi is issues.
He's trying to connect. Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know, whatsoever configuration Sakshi you did earlier, that was working perfectly. Right.
okay, so yeah, I think we're towards the end of the questions.
Yeah, we have completed through most of them. Yeah. Any other questions, people? Okay. Okay. So before we wrap it up, we can probably give it like 5 minutes about what's new on GCP. Yeah. Vaibhav can talk about it. I can add to it.
Sure. I mean, there are. So first of all, let me just start off by saying that I'm like super excited with how Google Cloud is kind of evolving in these days, and I'm low key sad because the next did not happen up until now. So there's still a lot of stuff which is just not gone out yet. But just talking specifically from like BigQuery perspective or um, let's start with BigQuery, right? So there are a couple of things that have changed. So up until very recently, BigQuery was like a tool which you can use for analytics needs, right? You still use it for analytics needs, but what that meant earlier was that you cannot do a lot of updates, deletions, and so on and so forth before. It was restricted to just 100 of those. Now, what BigQuery has done is they've removed all of those, right? So basically, you can run infinite updates, deletes on your warehouse. Meaning now you can have true transactional warehouses on BigQuery as well, right? Second, what they've done is they've basically introduced column level IAM policies as well, right? What that means is, say for example, if you have if you're dealing with, say, a pharmaceutical client, or say a healthcare client, and so on, what it would mean is that you wouldn't want all of your analysts to have access to all the columns, right? You would want to put in restrictions at a column level. What BigQuery now allows you to do is, using tags within your tables, you can mark what data is PII, what data is PHI, what data is something that you want to restrict access for, and you can define separate access roles just for those tags, right? So that's something which is picking up quite well. Apart from this, I don't know how many of you were following the Looker and Google Cloud deal that formally materialized. Looker is officially on Google Cloud, and with that also comes the Looker ML and all the other stuff. So for those of you who were previously using Data Studio, or you know yeah, Google only has Data Studio there for your BI needs. But now you have something which is much more powerful, which is giving competition to Tableau as well in terms of capabilities. So that's definitely a good news for Google as well. Yeah, Pranay, do you want to add something there?
Yeah, the BI engine just went GA on BigQuery, if that is something. So it's more like you can now have your in-memory calculations instead of running it for every query. So you basically build on your reservations there. That's something that went GA. Yeah, that's I can read. That's what I can recall for BigQuery. There are other things. I can see Anthos on my console now, so that's something that I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah,
It's again.
no, please carry on.
So it's again a single plane of glass wherein you can manage all your apps across any environment, say hybrid or any hybrid environment, any cloud platform, any on-prem system, without the needs for, say, specified hardware. That is something that differentiates it from maybe other offerings in the cloud in the market. There are no hardware restrictions to it. So yeah, so it basically, for larger enterprises, it solves a ton of problems, because now it's an easy way for them to move to the cloud, and it's also centralized. It's kind of managed plane. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Machine images came to GCP, which was something much requested, which basically means that first, if you were to take backup of a machine and you want to restore it, it would take a ton of time, because you still had to make configuration changes from all those images that you were taking. Now all you do is like take a machine image, and then it's way easier to restore a VM back. Other things that I can see is that it's now a proper secret manager on GCP if you want to store your secrets. That's there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and just one more thing to add, right? I'm not sure if you all have been following what all of these tech firms have been doing for COVID-19 and so on, right? Google Cloud's like heavily investing in research pertaining to COVID-19, right? In fact, all the BigQuery data sets that have any information remotely related to COVID-19, right? You don't have to pay a single dollar for that. You can query them infinite number of times, and they would not charge your billing account, right? Secondly, they're giving out Google Cloud credits to these colleges, John Hopkins, UC Berkeley, Washington, and UW, and like all of these colleges, also at IISc in India, and all of that, just to make sure that they are doing as much as they can in terms of providing the compute and providing cloud capabilities to these unis and researchers and so on. So um, on the on that front, Google's doing a lot too. Just wanted to highlight. So if one of you is interested in, or any one of you is interested in how to utilize these data sets, feel free to go on BigQuery. There would be a data set on that, and feel free to build something out of that. And just want to add one quick thing. So as of last month, AI platform officially supports TensorFlow 2.0 for deploying models on AI jobs. That's a huge sigh of relief for a lot of people like me, especially because most of my models were built in TensorFlow 2.0, and there was no way for us to deploy them on AI platform up until now. But they actually fixed that. So yeah, it's good times ahead.
Yeah. Something pretty exciting that I recently saw on my console is that I can see game servers now. So there's a framework called Igonis that is based on Kubernetes again, and you can basically build your own PUBG. Is if I can do like a TLDR, it has its
Right.
own algorithm, and it's highly optimized for high capacity workloads. You basically build your own games like these. So yeah, that's again, as Vaibhav said, exciting times ahead. Google is actually, the entire way they're dealing with where the market is at and where they're heading. It's a good front to be on. And they're offering a month of free learning. Of course, I think one must have seen it, the promotion. But if you haven't, please get in touch with us, and then I can share you the link, and any of us can, for
Right.
signing up. They're offering free plural site, Coursera, and Quick Labs for a month. And the Coursera courses are exactly designed for, so there's cloud engineering, cloud architecture, and data engineering, which kind of train you to the certification track. Of course, you need a lot more, but they have the bare minimum there. That's available for free.
Right, and I just want to add like one quick thing, which I'm again really passionate about and really excited to see, which is cloud AI pipelines, right? So up until now, you had to write your own code, push it to Kubeflow, that then your model would train, and then you can put it for prediction and so on and so forth. Now they've kind of come up with this new service altogether, right? Which is called Cloud AI Pipelines. It's still in beta, if I'm not wrong, but it abstracts the overall pain that you had to go through before, which is to train your model and then take that binary, upload it somewhere to cloud storage, and then get it into like get Kubeflow to sort of interact with that, and like all of that. They've kind of abstracted all of that, and now you can do it in like one go, like just a couple of clicks. So yeah.
Cool.
Sakshi, you're back. Can you hear us? We still can't hear you. Ah,
Okay, we have a question. How does Indian pricing work for Cloud Run? Pricing is always in dollars. They convert you to the standard rate for that day. So you'll get it in your, if you want to see, they'll even provide you the exchange rate that they charge you for. I want to know live coding is possible. It's a different question. To me, it means that you want to code and then you want to see your changes in production, which happens via scaffold on, say, anything called Kubernetes. There's a plugin called Cloud Run you can install on your Visual Studio or IntelliJ IDEs. That is how you can do like a live coding kind of thing, if that is something
did he mean live coding in the sense of deployment, or was he meaning live coding in the sense of uh, like these sessions?
I am not sure. I'm not certain.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe Pranay, do you want to like talk about what we have in store next, like for the weeks to come and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so people, like everyone knows this entire outbreak and outspread. I mean, I hope you guys stay home and stay safe. It has definitely changed the way the entire meetup thing works in on a larger scale, right? Internationally, Google, wherein from every year since I don't know when, has been announcing their Android version on Google I/O, the latest Android version on Google I/O, and that is cancelled. So that means that I mean, even scales of even events of larger scale like WWDC or from Apple or Facebook F8, those scale events of those scales are cancelled. It definitely impacts on what we would be doing in the region for the community. We definitely plan to bring something out in June or July if everything stays smooth and it the curve is much more flattened. Uh, we have a couple of things. This also impacts, by the way, how we deal with larger events, such as DevFest that we definitely do every year. Maybe we could have like we could keep doing these online meetups for a much longer period than what we expect, and this could become a proper norm. This is what we were all discussing previously. That O'Reilly, the organization that is popularly known for its offline open source events, cancelled its entire division altogether. So many people fired. So probably this would become a new norm, right? And human beings, in my opinion, get habitual of this. This would become the new normal, and then you won't find it. This won't be any distant thing for you. So maybe e-meetups are the way that we think our future would be. But the other contrary side to it that I see is that the real value with these meetups is with the network that we build, and that
Right.
most often happens when we are in person. So we want to do a mix of it. The first thing that we see is somewhere in June. We want to have certain meetups specifically for students. One of them for students. The other one is that something that we did last year, and I think it went very well. We want to do Codes again this year. This is something that we are aiming for. There are a handful of other workshops that we have in mind. We probably can have. We were planning for IWD in April, but then again, this entire shift. I don't think will be having IWD in any capacity. There are workshops that I think we should do. I have certain ideas. In the entire team, I mean, entire team has all ideas on all fronts. Vaibhav has certain ideas, Vishal has certain ideas, and we really want to take a track on how we see things and how cloud, or specifically Google Cloud, is uh, building the industry. We wanted to do meetups around, say, Google Cloud and manufacturing or the chemical industry on those lines, and we really hope we can bring them, in time and soon. And yeah, let's hope how everything goes on. Let's stay
Right.
safe.
And yeah, I mean, just if there's something that you want us to prioritize, or like if you want to see, just drop those comments in, right? And we can look into how we can best serve all of your needs as well. So or like if there are no meetups, you can always feel free to like reach out to us on our uh, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever that may be, right? We're more than happy to take questions there and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I guess this is it.
And yeah, like, share, subscribe us.
Okay, we have a
uh,
question. Last question we can take.
have a
Kshitij is
question.
asking that, okay, how can you get started in cloud? So Kshitij, I'll share a link, and we are offering free training. Start off with the cloud engineering track. I think that's a good starting point. That's it. So yeah, and Rishabh is asking again live coding in deployment. That is again using Scaffold, using cloud code. That was announced, I guess, last year. Yeah, so that is something that you should check out. We'll share the link so you can get in touch with us. Yeah, so sure. Yeah, let's wrap it up. Okay, see ya guys. See ya everyone. Bye.
Yeah, this was fun. Like, and do let us know how this was. Share the link with your friends. This was our first time, right?
Yeah.
Trying this out. We're all learning. Sakshi is still kind of figuring out her audio issues. Hopefully, she will figure it out by the next week or whenever we meet next. Yeah, really, really nice to know that you all are doing good. We're trying our bit to flatten the curve here. You do yours, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.